Government pushing ahead with energy reform, and this could result in a reduction in electricity cost across the country.
That's right. Well, the country's leader is back in the capital after high-level talks at the United Nations. One of the issues addressed during those talks was energy reform. Clint Watson has more tonight on government's proposed national energy policy.
The most immediate effect that Bahamians can expect to experience in the wake of the country taking measures to address climate control will be in establishing a more efficient use of energy through power generation. The Prime Minister says this translates into lower costs for BEC by year's end.
With timelines, by having some resolution with respect to the management of our corporation by the end of the year. And so these are important targets that we have established, all calculated to cause a reduction in the cost of electricity, not just for Bahamians, but also for the commercial interests in our country that have always seen the cost of power as very, very intimidating to them as investors.
The Prime Minister also wants a quicker response in reducing electricity for family islands. This as his government has already approved new methods of power generation for Bahamar.
I'm really going to be interested in talking to the Minister further about how we could move in the islands in a much more effective way and a quicker way in being able to bring lower prices to, because we're using sun, in some instances, even the ocean, that we're now doing with respect to Bahamar, where we have approved a company to bring in cold water into Bahamar to effectively reduce the costs associated with air conditioning.
Environment Minister the Honorable Kenred Dorset also says the long-term goal, also included in that national energy policy, will continue to see a reduction in electricity costs.
That a minimum of 30% of generating capacity is by way of renewable energies by the year 2030 marks a major move on behalf of his administration, together with the introduction of net metering for the first time, which means that our people will be able to rely on what God has granted us in terms of sun.
Mr. Christie says climate change is a serious issue that the Bahamas cannot ignore.
The oceans are claiming our land. You know, you can go to islands, Clint, and old-timers could tell you that when they were young, they were picnicking in what is now the ocean.
And when you consider what scientists have predicted, that 80% of the country's land mass could be lost if the sea level rises by 1.5 meters, it drives home the importance of all of us doing what we can to impact climate change, preserving the Bahamas, not just for this generation, but future generations to come. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.